So another thing that happened last week that I wanted to talk about was the MAGA teens. You guys know who that is? The MAGA teens?
Yeah.
They are a group from a Christian school not too far from where Jay Black grew up at in Kentucky. And they were at the National Mall to protest because there were protests going on there. And everyone has seen that Indian man beating his drum. And so when the story first came out, you know, there's this white kid facing off with the Indian guy. And I think what's his name? Oh, Covington Catholic School is where those kids were from. And the Native American man was standing there and he was beating his drum. You just saw him with this like face looking at him and everybody was like, what a jerk. Later it came to find out that the Indian man was really trying to stop an argument between the black Hebrew Israelites and the and the white teens. So
that's crazy.
A lot of people found out about it late. Like, I don't know. I watched the news a lot, so I already had seen what was going on. So I saw what they were switching the narrative to be. But when they found out that it was the black Hebrew Israelites that really were pissing off those kids, the whole story changed and everybody got shook. So when you guys first saw it, did it bother you that the kid with the MAGA hat on? And then two, like, you're from a Catholic school. Aren't y'all supposed to be like very peaceful?
Last time I checked, if you think about Catholicism,
yeah,
like they've actually dominated the world.
I think
it's what, 3 billion
by Catholics.
Yeah.
So
3 billion Catholics.
Once they found out that the black Hebrew Israelites were involved in what they were saying, did you guys see that?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I think it's great.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I said the same thing.
Because here's why. Like I got a couple friends that.
Do you guys know what the black Hebrew Israelites are?
Fill them in.
Do you know?
Well, Kim, you were actually raised in this, so.
Well, do you know? My grandfather is Ethiopian Jew.
Which is
That's
beautiful.
A different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would count as
they would
Sephardic?
be more radical.
Yeah.
Than my grandfather
right.
and them, because my like in Ethiopia,
this was like Orthodox,
right?
King Solomon's bloodline, all that
Absolutely.
other stuff. Yeah.
The most famous one I think in our generation is that intruder. The guy who made the intruder law.
Yeah.
Hide your wife, hide your kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He converted
about
to
that. You're right.
Also,
Kendrick Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
And
on Kodak Black, right?
Yep. So
I think it's great for this one reason. I have friends and I see a lot of white people right now who are mad, and their narrative is they saw these kids wearing a MAGA hat. They saw a MAGA hat.
Right.
They saw white teens, they look privileged, and so all of a sudden there's this judgment that goes with that. And I stop and tell them, they saw a kid with a hoodie, he was black, looked like he was poor, all of a sudden there came this judgment. You later learn that these kids were doing something else. You later learn this dude's dad was there, he was supposed to be there. So for me, this for the first time, whites and rich whites are actually getting to see what it looks like to be stereotyped based on something that you're wearing.
There you
so
go.
what the Hebrew Israelites are,
that's a very interesting perspective.
For those who don't know, they're in African American groups, and they think that they are the literal descendants of the Israelites of the Bible. So if you read the Bible, or if you know anything about the Bible,
there's a lot of evidence to support that. Yeah.
There were in Israel 12 tribes of Judah, and they have been spread across the earth. And the Hebrew Israelites believe that African Americans, Native Americans, and Latin Americans, Latinas, they are 3 of the 12 tribes of Israel. So the original Jews, really.
Now, most believe, though, that they make up all 12 tribes. Because is their argument, which I agree with too, because I've been like studying this since I was like 14. But but like really too, I mean, I don't want to say stuff that's going to get us like anti-Semitic and stuff like that.
I mean, it's not you.
It's
what you read.
I'm gonna just use that as a vehicle,
whatever you
because you know how people are when they pull up tweets and things like that,
right? Allegedly.
Because really, I mean, if you just open up your Bibles and if you read it, you can find in like Deuteronomy chapter 28:68. It tells you that we'll be, on slave ships, sold, things like that, and you don't find Jewish people this day talking about things like that. Jesus as well. Like in the Bible, he's described as having kinky hair, dark skin.
Right.
King Solomon said, "I'm black and handsome." So it's just like, how do you go from black to now having blonde hair, blue eyes, things like that? So it's a very interesting debate and things like that. So
yeah, imagery is real.
Yeah.
And I think about something that Desmond Tutu once said. He said that there was he talked about when Christians came into Africa.
Right.
And he said there was a time when we had the land and they had the Bibles. Now we have the Bibles and they have the land. So it's power in that. And when you read the Bible, like you say, you can actually see the splits.
Right.
Where the Muslims actually came, and then where the Jewish decided to stay, because it wasn't like they showed up. It's just when Jesus came, some of them converted, some of them didn't. Right. And you can, those splits are crystal clear.
That's facts. And Kim, you know, as well, I think that this was like symbolic somewhat too, saying this Catholic school against this Native American man.
So that's the thing too. And I'm like, you know, after all that, and okay, we found out what was going on. I think that we missed a moment in this country to learn. Right. And to understand each other and to come to the... That was a perfect opportunity. That was a perfect example of what happened in this country and why we are where we are right now. Right. So it was like the Europeans came and the Indians had taken in a lot of the African Americans because they saw what they were doing. They're like, hey, they did that to us too. We should get together and try to fight them. You know what I mean? Right. And I think that if someone would have stepped in and even one of the journalists, somebody should have, instead of making it out to be this whole big thing, somebody should have stepped in and said, you know what? This is what happened in the
300 years ago.
It wouldn't have sold.
Why not? I mean, anybody could have gone to any book and researched it and found that out. Because as an African American, we're told the real story. I mean, you are afforded the opportunity to tell your kids whatever you want them to know.
But
and we're not.
But I mean, as well, kids, they spend 7 to 8 hours at school, so they're being constantly indoctrinated.
I mean, look, there's a world wide web out here.
True.
If you really just want to know something,
you pull out your phone.
You pull out your phone.
But I always say, like, it's easy to say that. We had this conversation the other day. It's easy to say you can Google everything, but if you don't know what to Google,
if you don't know what to Google,
you don't know. Right.
It's like
you get like 10,000 results and all that, so you don't know which one is credible, things like that. But imagery as well. If you can you like speak on that?
Yeah, give example, man. You look at what they tell us about wealth. Right. They show us the images of black people who have made it out the hood, and they'll say, look, this one person made it, you can too. But what they feed that, right? But what they don't realize is that there's this whole system that you can't succeed in. So for instance, to be real quick, and Jabari's heard this before, you take a new island and you fill it with all people who have Ivy League degrees and they're all millionaires, right? Well, they all can't do well. So who's going to cut the grass?
Gotcha.
Who's going to take out the trash? They all want to live in a nice house, but who wants to be the roofer, right? So somebody can't do well. So they're going to figure out who. And that group of people is going to be the essential services. They're the ones that work the hotel, retail. Go to any wealthy neighborhood in this country. There's a pocket somewhere where the essential services live. Is where the police over police.
Gotcha.
They go to that school, and like smart people are going to be smart wherever they go. Yeah. So 3 kids out of there are going to go to Harvard, and that's the imagery. Right. They're going to take that and broadcast that and say, look, all of y'all can do it.
Because they did it.
Oprah. But no, you can't. Because we all can't do well, because there still has to be a population of people.
And that's what happened.
So when
I say that all the time.
When you see Cardi, I love everybody.
Right.
But when you see like the Cardi B's, Jay-Z's, they paint this picture. So when you go to Google, you're not trying to Google true enlightenment. You're trying to Google, what did Cardi B say that got all the political people thinking she should run for president?
Got you.
And they spend 5 hours looking at that, not 5 hours looking at what's the electoral college. What's the difference between
all
local
distractions,
government?
pretty much.
All distractions,
entertainment, but we're not trying to get like education.
And that's the imagery.
Okay.
They paint these images, and that's what we follow.
I got you.